What if I shared with you that at the time of your passing, your spirit doesn't merely continue to exist, but instead becomes more vibrant than ever? Edgar Cayce, the most extensively documented psychic in America, disclosed through more than 14,000 recorded readings, insights that will profoundly transform your perspective on death and the afterlife. Before we explore these astonishing findings, be sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell, as what you're about to learn from Cayce's documented experiences will challenge all your preconceptions about consciousness after death. Have you ever pondered what those final moments before you pass away truly feel like? What occurs to your awareness, memories, and your very being? In the upcoming moments, I will present 3 documented instances from Cayce's readings that illustrate not only survival beyond death, but also a profound spiritual renewal that commences the moment your physical body ceases to function. Edgar Cayce, from his simple office in Virginia Beach, entered profound trance states to tap into what he referred to as the Akashic records. These universal repositories of every soul's journey offered him intricate insights into the death process, a phenomenon that modern science is just starting to grasp. But here's where it becomes truly intriguing. In reading 136-18, Cayce characterized death not as a conclusion, but as a graduation day for the soul. He disclosed that at the point of physical demise, the soul undergoes an instant broadening of awareness, akin to suddenly perceiving vibrant colors after a lifetime of seeing only in grayscale. Take a moment to reflect on this. If what Cayce proposed is accurate, then death is not the frightening mystery we have been taught to dread. Rather, it represents the instant when our genuine spiritual essence is liberated from the confines of material reality. Allow me to present to you a documented incident that will astound you. In 1932, Cayce conducted a session for a woman mourning her recently deceased husband. She was anxious to find out whether he was at peace, if he was in pain, or if he continued to exist at all. What Cayce disclosed during reading 254-68 astonished even his trusted stenographer. He recounted his vision of the man's spirit right after his passing. Rather than feeling frightened or disoriented, the spirit exhibited what Cayce referred to as a sense of joyful recognition. The man quickly established a connection with family members who had passed away and was astonished by the surge of vitality he felt. However, this is the twist that alters our perception of the afterlife. Cayce disclosed that the man's spirit resembled his 28-year-old self. In the peak of his physical fitness, yet enriched with all the wisdom and spiritual development he had gained throughout his life. The spirit not only existed beyond death, but flourished in a manner that rendered his earthly life a mere faint reflection. This prompts a deep inquiry. If our spirits gain greater vibrancy and vitality upon passing, what implications does this have for how we should conduct our lives presently? Cayce shared insights that could fundamentally alter your view on the experience of dying. In reading 271, he illustrated the moment of death as akin to a butterfly breaking free from its cocoon. The physical form represents merely the chrysalis phase of our being, and death signifies the instant we unfurl our spiritual wings for the very first time. However, hold on, there's something truly extraordinary. Cayce regularly shared that those who had just passed away were frequently astonished by the simplicity of their transition. In several readings, he conveyed that newly departed souls expressed wonderment at feeling more like themselves than they had for many years, liberated from the physical discomfort, mental haze, and emotional burdens that had encumbered them during their lives. At this point, you might be curious about how Cayce could accurately grasp these specifics. The explanation resides in his exceptional capacity to to reach what he referred to as the borderland between the physical and spiritual realms. In his trance states, Cayce was able to perceive spirits that had recently passed away, consistently reporting similar experiences. In just 3 minutes, I'll present a documented case that even the most skeptical observers found difficult to rationalize. This case involves a spirit that returned to share specific information that no living individual could have known. But before that, let me explain the healing process that initiates right after death. Cayce's readings indicate that one of the most exquisite aspects of dying is the immediate healing that takes place. In reading 1152-9, he recounted how a woman who had been plagued by chronic arthritis for many years felt completely pain-free the instant her spirit departed from her body. However, the healing was not limited to the physical realm. Cayce shared that emotional scars, psychological traumas, and spiritual obstructions that might have affected an individual for their entire life are swiftly cleared during the transition. It's as if the soul undergoes a total reset, retaining all the positive development and wisdom while discarding the accumulated hurt. Consider someone you know who has faced challenges like depression, anxiety, or chronic pain. According to Cayce's insights, that suffering dissipates entirely at the time of death, giving way to a sense of completeness and energy that exceeds any experiences from physical existence. This is where Cayce's insights become truly remarkable. He didn't merely recount personal encounters with death and rebirth. He uncovered a universal phenomenon that resonates with every soul's journey, irrespective of their convictions, history, or manner of passing. This fundamentally alters our understanding of grief and loss, doesn't it? If our cherished ones are undergoing this remarkable revival and growth in awareness, then the act of mourning transforms into something entirely new. We aren't mourning for them, but rather for ourselves and the fleeting separation we're enduring. Now let me share the documented instance I mentioned, one that even staunch skeptics cannot ignore. In 1934, Cayce conducted a reading for a family mourning their grandfather, who had died 3 weeks prior. Throughout the session, the spirit of the grandfather conveyed messages via Cayce, revealing precise information about concealed family papers and the whereabouts of a treasured pocket watch, which none of the living relatives were aware of. However, what rendered this case especially extraordinary was not merely the factual accuracy. It was the vibrant personality that emerged. The family noted that the grandfather's spirit exhibited a humor, wisdom, and liveliness that had been lacking in his later years due to dementia. It felt as though death had rejuvenated him, liberating him from the bodily constraints that had obscured his thoughts. This prompts a deep inquiry into the essence of consciousness and selfhood. If our souls can carry on with their personalities and recollections while being liberated from both physical and mental boundaries, what insights does that provide about the true nature of our identity? According to Cayce's interpretation, death uncovers our genuine spiritual self, devoid of the transient conditions and restrictions imposed by our physical existence. It's akin to finally catching a glimpse of your image in a pristine mirror after a long time of staring through cloudy glass. However, there's an additional dimension to this spiritual renewal that Cayce unveiled, fundamentally changing our perception of the afterlife. While discussing the case 37442, he illustrated how spirits who have recently passed away frequently encounter what he termed cosmic consciousness. This entails an abrupt realization of universal truths that were obscured during their physical existence. Imagine comprehending the reasons for every obstacle faced, perceiving the profound wisdom in occurrences that appeared chaotic or harsh, and acknowledging the exquisite interconnectedness of all life. According to Cayce, This heightened awareness is one of the immediate benefits resulting from the transition of death. This cosmic consciousness offers not only solace, but also a deeper understanding. Cayce disclosed that this phenomenon also enables spirits to aid and direct those who remain in the physical realm. The revitalized spirit transforms into a significantly more influential source of positivity than when confined to a corporeal existence. Here's an astonishing aspect of Cayce's precision concerning posthumous experiences. In 1940, he conducted a reading that depicted the spirit of a woman who had recently passed, actively assisting her living daughter in gaining the courage needed to combat a severe illness. Half a year later, the daughter fully recovered and shared that she experienced vivid dreams in which her mother offered detailed advice regarding healing methods. The treatments that the mother proposed in these dreams were innovations that emerged after her passing, but they turned out to be precisely what the daughter required. This implies that spirits may not only hold on to the knowledge they had during their lifetimes, but they might also acquire greater insights and wisdom. Consider what this means. If our cherished ones can provide more aid and support after they have passed away than they did while alive, then death is not truly a separation. Instead, it is a transition that enables them to love and aid us in ways that were unattainable while they were constrained by physical life. However, it is at this point that Cayce's insights start to significantly change our perspective on life. In his reading 1567-2, he disclosed that the quality of our spiritual renewal after death is closely tied to the level of spiritual advancement we achieve during our time on earth. The greater our consciousness expands in life, the more extraordinary our experience after death will be. This concept is not about adhering to a particular faith or following set doctrines. Cayce consistently emphasized that spiritual development arises through altruism, nurturing love and compassion, and acknowledging our connection to the divine source of everything. Each act of kindness, each sincere moment of prayer or meditation, and every decision to forgive instead of harboring resentment contributes to this growth. These practices not only enhance our earthly existence, but also serve to ready us for the remarkable growth of consciousness that lies beyond death. You may be curious about when this spiritual renewal occurs. Is it instantaneous, or is it a more gradual transition? Cayce's insights provide intriguing information on this topic. In reading 8538, he illustrated the instant of death as akin to moving from a dim room into radiant sunlight. There's a moment of acclimatization, similar to when your eyes adjust to bright light, followed by a profound realization of heightened energy and broadened consciousness. Nevertheless, Cayce indicated that the true extent of this spiritual renewal reveals itself over what he referred to as the initial 3 days post-death. During this time, the spirit gradually becomes more aware of its newfound abilities and starts to comprehend the extraordinary nature of its expanded existence. This 3-day span is not about judgment or awaiting approval to enter heaven. Instead, it involves the spirit learning to navigate its new surroundings while beginning to recognize the remarkable opportunities available for ongoing growth and service. Furthermore, Cayce shared something that offers significant solace to those grieving the loss of a loved one. In the early phase following death, spirits frequently stay near the individuals and locations they cherished during their lives. They are not trapped or tied to the earth. Rather, they are taking a moment to offer comfort and closure prior to transitioning to the next stage of their existence. Several families have shared experiences of receiving signs, dreams, or intuitive messages from their recently departed loved ones, which delivered the specific reassurance or guidance they sought. As Cayce pointed out, these occurrences are not mere coincidences or products of wishful thinking. Instead, They represent intentional communications from spirits who have been revitalized by death and are utilizing their heightened abilities to offer love and support. The proof of this lies in recorded instances where spirits have offered information or help that was extraordinarily accurate and beneficial. In 1938, a widow experienced vivid dreams in which she received specific guidance about her financial troubles, ultimately rescuing her family from the brink of bankruptcy. This advice, imparted by her late husband, turned out to be exactly what was needed, despite his lack of financial insight while alive. This indicates that death not only rejuvenates our spiritual essence, but also amplifies our ability to recognize solutions and opportunities that remained hidden during our earthly existence. It feels as though we suddenly acquire access to a superior form of intelligence and wisdom. Here's what this implies for you at this moment. Should Cayce's insights hold true, then death should not be something to dread, but rather an event to approach with enthusiasm and eagerness. Each day you invest in enhancing your spiritual awareness, embracing compassion, and helping others is equipping you for a remarkable growth of your authentic self. Furthermore, grasping the truth about spiritual renewal post-death can fundamentally change your response to grief and loss. Rather than perceiving your loved ones as lost for eternity, you can acknowledge that they have evolved into stronger, more loving, and wiser embodiments of themselves. This acknowledgement doesn't diminish the reality of grief. It remains a normal and essential feeling. Rather, it suggests that sorrow can exist alongside the joy derived from the extraordinary journey your loved ones are experiencing. While you may long for their physical presence, you can still honor their spiritual freedom and improved state of being. Furthermore, Cayce's readings indicate that keeping a bond with those who have passed is not only feasible, but also advantageous for both the living and the departed. By engaging in prayer, meditation, and heartfelt conversations, we can continue to receive guidance and support from those who have passed on. The crucial aspect of this connection is to approach it with love instead of desperation, and with gratitude rather than demands. When we reach out to spirits from a place of true love and spiritual openness, we establish a bridge that fosters meaningful exchanges and mutual blessings. As we conclude this remarkable journey through Edgar Cayce's insights on death and spiritual renewal, I invite you to reflect on how this knowledge could transform your life. If you were certain that death represents a beautiful transformation rather than a conclusion, how might that influence your daily decisions and priorities? Would you dedicate more time to enhancing your spiritual awareness? Would you show greater kindness through love and forgiveness? Would you greet each day with deeper gratitude for the fleeting nature of physical life? The profound insight that Cayce shared is that death is not the antithesis of life, but rather the realization of its genuine purpose. We enter the physical world to learn, evolve, and contribute. Once we accomplish that mission, we ascend to a greater state of being, enabling us to further our evolution with improved abilities and broadened consciousness. This is not merely a reassuring ideology. It represents a tangible truth that has the potential to change every facet of your life experience. Realizing that your spirit is everlasting and that physical death is fundamentally a celebration of your spiritual advancement can liberate you from the fears and constraints that prevent many from living genuinely. The recorded insights of Edgar Cayce offer us a guide for this spiritual path. They reveal not only what lies ahead after we pass on, but also how to get ready for that extraordinary transition by living consciously, developing spiritually, and serving others. If these insights resonate with you and expand your horizons, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and share this video with those who could gain from Cayce's insights. Your involvement supports our efforts to delve into these significant spiritual truths and offer comfort and inspiration to individuals globally. Keep in mind, you are more than just a temporary physical entity. You are an eternal spirit embarking on a remarkable journey of growth and exploration. Death is not the conclusion of this journey. This marks the onset of its most splendid chapter.